This is a continuation of the series that we've been running. And today we want to look at how to edit an item that has been listed on the main form. Later, we are also going to see how to delete an item. So what we were seeing last was that when you click on open, you're able to display an item to the form. And we had this method here, display info, for that effect. Now, so what we want to do is that when someone clicks on save, so this is what we were doing, some validations here, and then we were inserting data into the table. But now, sometimes you are clicking save to edit an item that has already been stored in the database. So editing meaning we want to change an item. Now, so my approach would be, I may want to have a variable that is common to this form here, an integer, int current ID. So I call it car ID, and then initialize and put the item 0 or the value 0. So int ID is equals to. Now, coming back to the form here, when I click on new, which is here, I want to set that ID to 0. So I can come here and say car ID is equals to 0. But then when I load an item by clicking open, I want to put that car ID value to the value from the form, cell int. And that makes things very, very easy. So now, when I come to save button here, I'll just use the same code. The only difference would be on this line here. So we have our variable insert int. So I can use an if statement to check if the value, the current ID, has an amount or value, sorry, which is more than 0. So I say car ID. If car ID is equals to 0, so that means if we are creating new, then I put bracket there, close it here. So if car ID is equals to 0, my value for SQL is insert into patients. Else, so else there meaning that car ID is greater than 0, has a value for that case. So now the statement changes, and now instead of insert, we're going to update that table. Then we say set. So now we are setting the value. So we set name is equals to the value from the text box. So I can copy it that way. And then next item is ID number is equals to the value I'm getting from the text box. So I copy that and paste here, comma, gender, okay, date of birth, DOB, is equals to what I'm fetching from the date picker. So I'm copying that, comma, gender is equals to what is from my combo box. Next is country, the field is equals to what is from txt country. and then is active is this val is equals to, but then here we have to remember that we are only updating or editing one value. So we will say, we will now add here where patient ID is equals to plus car value. And then now let's check. We put a semicolon there. Like we did last time, we may want to stop here and then check our SQL query by putting a message box just to display before we execute .show SQL, and then that way. So this just to display it. Now let's run our code and see what happens. So while that is loading, once again, we are checking if the value, if the current ID has a value which is greater than 0. Our SQL query changes to update instead of insert. So that is what we are doing there. Good. So let's see what happens. So I click on open, it displays. Now, and then double click on James. This is where I had the code running. Okay, remove that. So double click on James. James transaction is displayed here. Now let's change this to James Bond and then click on save. So you see our message box now becomes update TBL patients. Set name is equals to James Bond. ID number is the same ID number, we did not change. DOB is being read from there. Gender is male. Country is Tanzania. Is active is 1. Then we are saying where patient ID is equals to 2. Now, then the rest of the code remains the same. I continue there. Then process completed. Now, let's click on open. James' name has changed there. Even we may want to change the country. Instead of Tanzania here, we want to make it Kenya. So I double click and then change. I can change anything else. I can even make that inactive for that case. I can change the ID number to be something else, 9000. So I can change any of those values and then click on save. Now look at that. So James Bond ID number is being read from the text box. The country is now Kenya, and then click OK. Then proceed. Boom. Now open, and the data has actually changed. And that is how we edit. That is how we that is one of the simplest ways of editing information that has been listed or displayed on the main form. Thank you very much.